More than 1,000 military troops and police are on guard in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, ahead of a controversial auction. Later on Monday, the government will sell rights to explore a huge offshore oil deposit. Oil workers have been on strike since Thursday, partly to protest the sale. They object to foreign firms gaining access to Brazilian oil. The Libra field is thought to hold 8 to 12 billion barrels of oil. Shasta Darlington joins us now from the Brazilian city of Sao Paulo. And Shasta, what can you tell us? Is it possible these protests are going to delay things? Where does it stand?
Well, Maggie, there won't be a delay, but what we are seeing is that despite the fact that this is one of the most promising fields in the world, Libra, as you mentioned, could hold up to 12 billion barrels of oil. That's equivalent to 3 years of consumption in China. Despite that, they're really coming under fire from all sides. So on the one hand, they've had to bring in the army to help cordon off the hotel where the auction is going to take place because of the striking oil workers. And then activists of all stripes are expected to join in. But then on the other hand, we've also heard a lot of criticism from those foreign oil majors that the activists are protesting, and from the industry itself. And that's because they say the Brazilian government has just taken too much of an interventionist role in this auction, that the rules are not fair. This all dates back to 2007 when Brazil first discovered these huge deposits in very deep water, and they started to change the rules of their oil auctions so that once the oil is actually coming out of the ground, they maintain a stake in that. And at the same time, they're requiring that the Brazilian oil company Petrobras have at least a 30% stake in any consortium that's formed to do the bidding. So what we see today is only 11 companies actually paid registration fees to participate in the auction when they had expected 40. And it looks like it may come down to just 2 or even just 1 consortium putting in a bid. We don't see any of the U.S. majors here. Some Chinese companies may play a big role. And likely we'll see Petrobras itself trying to up its stake, paying the money to get a bigger piece of a consortium. But this obviously isn't the really explosive participation that the Brazilian government had originally wanted, Maggie.
You know, Shasta, it would seem that they would have had a lot of time to prepare for this. I mean, they would have known that there was going to be objections. There's a lot of sensitivity across Latin America for selling off any kind of assets, given the past history. And they should have known the complaints coming from the major oil companies. How did they get this wrong? It doesn't sound like it went as they were hoping at all.
Well, as you can see, Maggie, they are sort of doing a bit of a balancing act here because the criticisms are coming from both sides. They don't want to look like they're selling off Brazilian assets to foreign oil companies, and they do want to keep more control over what are very strategic assets. But on the other hand, they do want to attract investments. I suppose the upside to all of this, and the reason they're going forward despite all of the criticisms, is because it will bring a lot of sorely needed cash. You know, whichever consortium wins, even if there's only one group bidding, will have to pay a $7 billion signing fee up front, and then they're going to invest $185 billion over the 35 years of the concession. So the government still gets something out of it, but what we may see is in the next few years, when there are more oil auctions, they may rejig the rules a bit to make it more attractive for other companies, Maggie.
Which makes sense. And all of this as we watch oil prices actually hit, for NYMEX anyway, sinking below $100 a barrel. All right, fascinating stuff. Thank you so much, Shasta Darlington.